Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of The Fishing Teacher, and really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel to hang with me a little bit to watch the video. Guys, today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite techniques to catch bass in the month of August, and that's fishing these topwater frogs in shallow water. There's a lot of different ins and outs of these things, so I'm going to talk about my favorite ways to rig them, type of areas that you want to look for, because month of August is when that frog bite really turns on, sometimes into September a little bit. So we're going to get into that because it's some really exciting fishing once it gets going there. Also, since we are in the middle of summer, guys, just wanted to let you know that we have our Fish the Moment summer lake map breakdowns up on the fishthemoment.com website now. These are maps I built for Fish the Moment that allow you to learn more about your favorite lake or a lake you've never been into, and gives you some good spots you can go to right off the bat. And I'll put my Fish the Moment lake map breakdown and link in the description of this video if you guys would like to check them out. So much appreciated there. Okay guys, first of all, let's talk a little bit about the bait here. Then I'm going to talk about the the technique for fishing it. The bait that I prefer for this situation, this is called the Zoom Frog, not the horny toad, but it's the Zoom Frog that they make. And I'll link this in the My Tackle Warehouse description too if you guys like to get one. But this is a really unique bait because it's a topwater lure and it floats. It's not like the horny toad. The horny toad will sink in the water when you just let it sit there. But the thing that makes this Zoom Frog unique is that it's got this super elastic legs on it, and it floats just like a cork in the water, and you can reel it as fast or slow as you want to. And these tails on the end of it here, they're a little bit louder than a horny toad. So it's sort of like louder than a horny toad, but soft, but quieter than a buzzbait. It's a real, guys, this thing is I don't know why this thing hadn't become more popular, because I've caught tons of fish on it in the summertime. So that's the one I use here. And the hook setup, I'm going to show you how to rig it real quick, and then we're going to get into the most important part, is how to fish it and what to look for. But the hook you want to use, this is that Gamakatsu G Finesse worm hook. This is a 4/0. I'll link this in the description too. You want to come through the bottom of the frog. You want to thread it on. You know, a lot of people use an EWG. I don't like it because you miss a ton of fish on it. This has been the deal that's worked for me the best. Come through the bottom of the frog like this, because this is not the way that I fish this. I don't fish it in heavy cover. I fish it in open water, sort of sparse cover, so you don't need it to be weedless. But you rig it just like that, and that hook being underneath it, guys, they'll come up and they'll get that thing, and you never miss them, which is unusual on a frog, because a lot of times you'll miss them. Now also, when you reel this thing through the water, sometimes it comes like that and sometimes it goes like that. It just depends on the way it lands. If the thing turns upside down, don't worry about it. I've caught just as many fish on it. It'll go like this one time, and then you'll make another cast and it'll go like that. But again, it doesn't seem to matter. So that's how I set it up, and I usually fish it on probably 30 to 40 pound test Seaguar smackdown braid, and I do throw it on my flipping stick because you can pitch it and flip it around, plus cast it, and you never miss them. That's the setup there. And colors, I like this bullfrog color most of the time. If the water's a little bit off colored, I'll use the white, and on cloudy days sometimes, or if I'm fishing real shady areas, I'll use the black. So that's the setup. Now the main thing is like where you want to fish it at. In August, there's, like anything else in bass fishing, there's a constant transition as far as what the bass are doing. And you guys have heard me talk. If you watch the channel, you probably get sick of me hearing talk about the bluegill spawning in the summertime. And this is not really applicable to the frog fishing, because in August, the frog fishing that I like to, the bluegill type bite that I like to be after, I usually fish some type of a prop bait or swim jig or walking topwater. But this frog bite's different, and there's a couple different scenarios that you want to fish it in. First of all, when I'm fishing this frog, I'm not really concerned about fishing it around cover. Most of the time when people fish a topwater frog, they're throwing it around, grass or lily pads or, some type of edge cover. What happens in the month of August, and this is sort of one of those transition things, is there's a certain percentage of the bass that start cruising the bank. Excuse me. They start cruising the bank in the month of August and September, and they're hunting. It's like these fish that are up there shallow, they're hunting for anything they can find. It could be a snake coming through the water, a bird falls in the water, it could be a frog jumps in there, it could be a perch up there, there might be some shad, crawdad, whatever. they're shallow water scavengers, and that's the fish you're looking for. So the key on this frog bite in the month of August is, number one, helps if you have a little bit of shade pocket, not necessary, you don't have to have it, but it's all about covering water on flatter banks. So regardless of the type of lake that you're fishing in, the best way that I like to do this, and my favorite way to do it, is I go back into the coves, then the creek arms and the coves both, and I try to get back in there off the main lake, and I just go to those areas that have the flatter banks, wherever I can find a flat bank, and I just put the trolling motor down and cover water. And I throw that thing out there, I just reel it back at like a medium, fairly fast retrieve, like a medium fast straight retrieve, and just throw the thing right up on the bank and just burn the bank. I'll usually put my trolling motor on a little bit higher speed than what I'm normally used to. And it's all about covering as much water as you can, because these fish aren't going to be grouped up. It's going to be one here, it's going to be one there. You may pull into the back half of the cove and you may make a complete pass around the cove and you may get one bite and that's it. And then you may go to the next cove and you might not get a bite, and then you go to the next cove and you may get another bite. So it's all about, just covering massive amounts of water. But it's a fun way to catch them because, man, it's a topwater bite. You can catch them. If it's 100 degrees out and sunny, I've caught them just as good. And how I got on this deal is I'll tell you a little backstory about it. I was fishing down at Table Rock Lake about probably 4 or 5 years ago. And it was August. It was the first part of August. And I had, I had an on-the-water lesson there. And anyway, this guy that I was fishing, he had to go up on the bank and use the bathrooms. We were just back about halfway back in the cove. And he's up there using the bathroom, and I've just got the boat pulled against the bank there. And the water's a little bit high, but it's not like flooded into the trees. So there were some bushes in the water that were like right on the water's edge. There may be that much water in the bushes, none at all. But these bushes, there was some shade coming off them. The shade had come off 2 or 3 feet off of there. And the water was probably only about, 10 or 12 inches deep where the shade was, super shallow. And I'm sitting there in the front of the boat, and I saw 2 4-pound bass swimming around in that shade. I'm talking like they were in a foot of water, gin clear water. It was like the water visibility was, like bathtub water. So these 2 4-pound bass are in literally 12 inches of water. The water temperature, I looked down, 87 degree water temperature. And I got thinking, it's like, what are those fish doing up there in almost 90 degree water in a foot of water in clear water in the summertime? And I started picking my way down through that bank. And guys, a little congested here. I started picking my way down that bank, and I started noticing some perch swimming here and there, and I started noticing some minnows, and then I started noticing a bass or two. And we took that frog, that Zoom frog, we had a horny toad and a frog, and started burning those banks, and we wound up catching like 12 or 15 fish that afternoon in like 12 inches of water, gin clear water, middle of August, super hot out. And ever since then, that's been one of my favorite ways to catch them. So it's sort of an overlooked technique. A lot of people do it, but anywhere that you've got flat banks and fairly clean water like that, this deal's going to work. I haven't done very good on it if the water is dirty. Like say for example, if that water visibility is less than 1.5 feet. I haven't done that good on it. But ideally, I like clear water, like water visibility of over 3 feet. And it's just a fun way to catch them, man. It's one of those techniques that sort of gets overlooked in the summertime, but I can promise you it works. And it'll also work up until, early mid-September, something like that. So anyway, give it a try, guys. I'll link that stuff in my Tackle Warehouse link if you want to pick up a bag of them and give it a try. I think you guys will like the results of it. So we'll talk later.